Hello, I'm back again with another book review. This time it's the Broken Earth Trilogy, which book series I just read. I'll start with a non-spoiler review, just kind of in case you haven't read it and you may want to read it. That's kind of, I'll describe it a bit and describe things you might like and might not like, and then I'll delve more into the spoilers and discuss my thoughts on it more completely. So overall, just it's not like a very weird it's a pretty weird description style, I would say. It's the first book I've read other than one like children's book, and that was weird too, that has had second person narration. Like most is like either first person, like I did this, I did that, or third person omniscient, like they did this, they did that, or third person limited, the name of the person, usually they did this, they did that, he did, you know what I mean, you know the perspectives. This is the first one I've seen that has been second person, and it's not even second person all the time. It's second person a single time, and I didn't really understand why until the final book, which kind of takes it from being like a weird second person description style more to it's still second person technically, but it's really a first person telling another person, but they're telling them in second person. Anyways, yeah, so it's a bit off-putting at first, especially because the same person, and I think this is true of the first book, it's a bit confusing, so I'll give that warning. The same person, is that a spoiler? I don't know if this might be the author's intent, so I'm not going to spoil that in case it is, because I will say this book is pretty confusing, especially at first. There's a lot going on. There's a lot you have to keep track of, and just it's not told like a traditional story. It's very untraditional, which has its pros. The world building is great. The character work is not my favorite, but I know that's my biases. I can tell, oh, this is something that I don't like. It's similar to that, and yeah, that's just my biases. So you might like it. I think the reason I don't like empathize with the characters as much is because they're more selfish and emotional, which, yeah, I get that people are like that, but I'm not quite as emotional as like most people, and I also just I grew up on Star Wars and other, like Luke Skywalker is like my ideal empathetical character. Like he's my everyman, I think it's called. So when you have a character who's not that but has qualities like that, I can empathize with them, but they're still unique. When you have a character that's like the opposite of them, then it's more difficult for me to empathize with them. So that's part of why I didn't like this as much. So if you like those typical classic like Star Wars, or even something more like a Lord of the Rings, or something more modern like Brandon Sanderson, if you like that kind of story, you might still like it, but it's not that kind of story. It's different. So that's what I'll say about it. It's got a lot of emotion. The setting is very detailed, but it's not like, it's still mysterious, like even at the very end, and the way it's described isn't super clear, but that's also part of the magic, is that it can't be described in words, and so yeah, there's just a lot of magic there. It's a good story, I would say, but it's not very normal. So if you like that kind of story, definitely pick these books up and check them out. They're gonna be great. But onto a spoiler review. So this is your spoiler warning, and there are a lot of spoilers in this book series. So be warned. You can probably tell I was struggling to talk without giving spoilers. So those of you who have read the book, now you can just hear my true thoughts on the book. So an overall rating of the book, I didn't like it that much. I enjoyed it as a book, but I wouldn't say it's like one of my like top books or ones that I've enjoyed like most. It's not above average, I would say. In like I was saying in the other part, part of that is just because I don't appreciate that kind of story as much as I appreciate other stories. I see the appeal, but I don't know. It just feels like over dramatic to me. So specific things. So like at the very beginning, okay, this is the thing. Is it's so confusing because so you have the little girl who is what is she called, like Demana or something, and she is also Cyanite, who is also what's the other one? There's another one who, and they're all the same person, but there's different names and they act pretty different. Obviously there are some through lines, but it was super confusing to me. I did not get that they were the same character at all until they started revealing it, and it was kind of like, okay, I guess they're the same person. Oh, they're the same person as well. Oh, okay. Wait, okay. And then I had to, like, I don't know. And reveals like that are great, but I don't know. I'm a big fan of Brandon Sanderson, and his philosophy on reveals is you should have a lot of foreshadowing. I think some like NK Jemisin fans might say he puts too much foreshadowing, but I do like that. I don't know. It's a more comfortable story, but it's also just better, I would say. I know it's not necessarily better, but yeah, that's just how I feel about stories. It's all subjective. Yeah, so it was a little bit off-putting to have all those reveals. And also, what was I going to say in the original? Right, so the oldest one, I forget what she called herself at the time. The name I can remember clearly is Cyanide. I only latched on to one name. But whichever one was the oldest, right after her son dies and she finds out her father kills him. First of all, I was really confused as to what was happening at that point, and that's like setting up the entire story. So I didn't understand the setup for the entire story, and that's a big problem. So for the first book, I was confused. So this person is just so filled with grief they can't think for like half the book, which, I mean, it's kind of like saying, oh, this is just such a tragic event, but I just don't feel like that. Like it just felt boring to them constantly like, oh, I couldn't think about it. Oh, it was too painful. I couldn't think about it. And like I was saying, it just feels over dramatic to me. As time went on, I got more used to the characters and I got more used to the style. And also they started to reveal more of the setting, which I think the setting is the strongest point of this book series. Like it's not detailed like culturally like Wheel of Time, or just fleshed out as well like what is it called? Temeraire, the Temeraire book series. Those are the two book series I reviewed. But it's like in terms of its physical aspects and it's like the science of it and also the ancient history of it, it's very fleshed out. And it's just the like as I started to learn more about this, the ancient civilization and the shattering, and then all of the seasons as they're called, and the tectonic plate movements, and I love it when they have things in the stories like, what's a moon? And yeah, so when they revealed that the moon was gone and they had to get it back, that was something that I was like, oh yeah, I like that. That's storytelling I like. I like that type of setting. But yeah, I mean, it's a really good setting. That's like the strongest part of it, I would say. The magic isn't quite as, I guess, flashy as I like. And I had this same problem with Wheel of Time, where it's more like weaves and like it's cool, it's great, but it's not like my favorite. But that is like a minor nitpick. That's like it's not even a nitpick because nitpicks are logical. That's a subjective nitpick. Yeah. So I don't know. The setting it's not flawless, but it's very very good. Characters, as I've said, I thought they were a bit emotional. The plot it's confusing to follow, but it's also interesting. And I wonder if you could have the same storyline, but you tell it through like I don't know, just more clearly. If I would like that, if it'd be like one of my favorite books. But yeah, I don't know. So it's a really good story, but it just felt like mismatched or just awkward to me because of its pacing. And like as I said, they even have second person, they mix first person and third person, and what annoys me most is like the third person omniscient aspects, when it's like you said this thing but later you would realize that it was a terrible mistake, and it's like foreshadowing that it's going to be a terrible mistake, but it's also like you could just not spoil. It just draws my attention to the narrator and makes it feel like I'm not in the moment, which I don't know. It's a very unique perspective on story, like way to not perspective on storytelling, but like the perspective you're using to tell your story, it's not even that unique. It's just it's not my favorite, and so it's, I don't know. That's the big thing, is just the constant jumps in time and the how, oh, what's his name, Teo or something. The man, I am blanking on this guy's name and description. The Stone Eater, was that it? I don't even remember. That's ridiculous. I just finished reading the book. Okay. You probably know who I'm talking about. The guy who's telling the story, that guy, just the way he described it with you, and then sometimes he had I, and sometimes he had, like, on whatever names, Cyanite or Alabaster, or, yeah. So, yeah, there's a lot of good story here, but it feels choppy to me because it's all chopped up, and I don't know. I just prefer a much more flowy story. But I'm sure some of you guys loved it. Some of you guys probably agree with me. Some of you guys even hated it more than me. So I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments and all of that type of stuff. Leave a like if you like the review. And I think that's all I have to say for this book. So I don't have a way to end videos yet. Can't say May the Force be with you because it's not a Star Wars channel. I guess that's